All right, so today we're diving into McHenry, Illinois real estate.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it is. And we've got a great guide for this one. McHenry Real Estate, How to Buy, Sell, and Invest in McHenry, Illinois by Michael Linton.
Oh, I've heard of that one. It's supposed to be great.
Yeah, and with Linton's 38 years as a local broker, he really knows his stuff.
It's definitely not just some out-of-town consultant.
Exactly. So whether you're just starting out or you've flipped a few properties in your time.
Or even if you just want to learn more about McHenry.
Exactly. This deep dive is going to be your guide.
And the book's a great resource, too. You know, it's funny because when I first heard Illinois real estate, I immediately thought of downtown Chicago.
Right.
But McHenry has this whole other vibe. It's suburban, but still close enough to the city if you need it.
The best of both worlds kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting how it got that way. You know, McHenry wasn't always this bustling suburb.
Oh, really? What was it like?
Well, it started as a small farming community, believe it or not.
Wow. Farmland turned suburbia. That's quite the transformation.
I know, right? It's hard to imagine now with all the neighborhoods and everything.
So that history, did that play into how McHenry's real estate market is today?
Absolutely. I mean, you've got everything from those charming historic homes to modern developments. It's pretty diverse when you really dig in.
Okay, so options galore. I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Anything in particular come to mind as we start exploring these options?
Well, if we're talking about unique character, you can't forget McHenry Shores. Properties right along the Fox River, imagine that.
Oh, wow. Waterfront properties.
Right. Linton describes it as its own little world, and from the sounds of it, it's pretty appealing.
Okay, waterfront definitely has a nice ring to it.
It does, doesn't it? Linton really captures the appeal in the book.
Waterfront properties. Okay. That sounds dreamy, but let's be real for a sec. Buying a home, any home, it can be so overwhelming. Where do you even start?
I hear you. It's easy to get lost in the weeds, but that's where Linton's systematic approach comes in really handy.
Systematic approach. Tell me more.
So he breaks it all down into manageable steps, right? Starting with what he calls financial groundwork.
Okay, financial groundwork makes sense. Laying the foundation.
Exactly. And it's more than just figuring out how much house you can afford. Linton's big on the power of a solid down payment in McHenry's market.
Interesting. So like a larger down payment isn't just about owning more upfront.
Right. It's about more than that. He says local lenders there, they really like to see buyers with a bit more skin in the game.
Ah, so it's a signal to them that you're serious.
Exactly. And it can open doors to lower interest rates, maybe even some special loan products you wouldn't get otherwise.
Wow, so it's like a strategic move.
Exactly. A secret weapon in your back pocket.
I like it. Okay, so finances are squared away. What's next on Linton's roadmap?
Well, once you've got your finances sorted, he's all about finding the right neighborhood for you.
Makes sense. McHenry's got options, right?
Oh, tons. And Linton wants you to really think about your needs versus your wants. He's got these great descriptions of the different neighborhoods. Like, are you drawn to that walkable, historic vibe of downtown McHenry?
I can see the appeal.
Right. Or maybe you're thinking more along the lines of a top-rated school district. You know, that family-friendly feel in a place like Chapel Hill.
So many choices. How
Yeah.
do you even begin to narrow it down?
Well, that's where a good real estate agent comes in. Linton stresses finding an agent who really gets you.
Someone who understands the McHenry market inside and out.
Exactly. And someone who listens to what you want, not just trying to shoehorn you into a house that meets their agenda.
So it's about finding a real partner in the process.
Absolutely. Someone you can trust to guide you through the ins and outs of McHenry real estate. Speaking of which, let's say you're on the other side now. You're ready to sell your McHenry property.
Time to make some magic happen.
Right. And of course you want to get top dollar. Who doesn't? But Linton, he's got this interesting take on pricing.
Oh, tell me more.
He actually cautions against overpricing your property.
Really? I would have thought starting high would be the way to go.
You'd think so, right? But he says starting too high can actually backfire. It can scare off potential buyers.
Because they might not even bother looking if they think it's out of their range.
Exactly. And then your property just sits on the market getting stale.
Makes sense. So what's Linton's solution?
He's a huge advocate for something called a comparative market analysis, or CMA.
CMA. That sounds kind of intimidating. What is that exactly?
It's not as complicated as it sounds. Imagine you're selling something like a vintage car, right?
Okay, onward.
You wouldn't just slap a random price on it. You'd do your research. See what similar cars have sold for recently.
Yeah, to get a sense of what the market will bear.
Exactly. A CMA does the same thing for your house. It looks at comparable properties in McHenry that have recently sold.
Ah, so it's all about understanding the McHenry market specifically.
You got it. It's not just about national averages. It's about getting that hyper-local snapshot of what buyers are willing to pay in McHenry right now.
So it takes the guesswork out of pricing your home.
Exactly. And Linton says it can save you a lot of heartache down the road. You know, that whole emotional roller coaster of constantly adjusting your price because you started too high?
I can see how that would get old fast.
Right. So the CMA helps you avoid that whole mess.
Okay, so pricing, that makes sense. But how else can I make my McHenry house stand out, when it hits the market?
Ah, good question. Linton's big on this. He talks a lot about staging.
Staging.
Yeah.
More than just tidying up.
Oh, yeah. It's about showcasing your home's best features, creating a vibe, really.
Like setting the stage for someone to fall in love with the place.
Exactly. You want potential buyers to walk in and imagine themselves living there. Like they can move in tomorrow and start making memories.
So if I've got a cozy fireplace, I should make sure it's lit during showings.
Absolutely. Extra cozy points for that. It's all about creating that emotional connection.
I love that. Okay, so we've talked about buying and selling. But what about investing in McHenry Real Estate? That's a whole other ballgame, right?
It is, but it can be incredibly rewarding. And you're right, McHenry's got a lot to offer investors.
So does Linton talk about investment strategies in the book at all? For someone like me who's thinking about dipping their toes into that world?
He does, and you can tell he's really passionate about this part. He's been a player in the Chicago market, which includes McHenry, for decades, so he really knows his stuff.
That's reassuring. So what kind of strategies does he recommend?
Well, one avenue he highlights is rental properties, which makes sense, right? McHenry's growing, which means there's a steady demand for rentals, especially those with that unique McHenry charm.
It's like a modern condo near all the action downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe a charming cottage by the Fox River for those who want a little peace and quiet.
You've got it. And what's great is that McHenry's rental market is pretty diverse.
Yeah.
Single-family homes, townhouses, even duplexes. There's something for everyone.
Options are always good. We briefly talked about commercial real estate before. Does Linton go into detail about those kinds of opportunities in McHenry?
He mentions them, but he's pretty upfront about the fact that commercial real estate's a whole other animal,
Definitely more complex.
Right. It needs a different level of expertise, a deeper understanding of local market trends.
So not really for the faint of heart.
You could say that he focuses more on the ins and outs of residential real estate in this particular book.
That makes sense. Still good to be aware of all the possibilities, though, as you're exploring McHenry's market.
Absolutely. It all ties together in the end.
Something else struck me about Linton's book. He doesn't just talk about numbers and transactions. He seems to really care about the people behind the properties,
I noticed that too. He dedicates the book to his wife, Peggy, and to Jesus Christ. It adds a really personal touch.
Definitely shows that he's not just in it for the deal. He sees the bigger picture.
Exactly. It's about helping people find their place. Building a life in McHenry.
I love that. Well, I gotta say, I'm feeling pretty inspired right now. McHenry's sounding more and more appealing by the minute.
I hear you. And that's the magic of Linton's book, isn't it? It opens your eyes to all the possibilities.
Exactly. So if you're even remotely curious about McHenry Real Estate, I highly recommend checking out McHenry Real Estate, How to Buy, Sell, and Invest in McHenry, Illinois by Michael Linton. It's your roadmap to navigating McHenry's unique market. And who knows, maybe we'll see you out there.
Wouldn't that be something? Until next time, happy investing.